Welcome back, everybody, to Orthodox Review, the most uneducated educational program on the internet today. I'm your host, the guy with 1.5 thumbs, and this, as you may have guessed, is the Old Rite Horologion, published by Church of the Nativity in Erie, Pennsylvania in 2006. It was translated by Hieromonk German. I will never get this name right. Cuba? From the 1910 edition from the Old Rite print shop in Moscow. Now, this copy was given to me by Stephen Maynard of internet fame. It had previously belonged to a deacon who had reposed in Lord, and I am so happy and honored and blessed to be its curator now. So let's go over a bit of the construction quick. Because that is one of the things that really stuck out to me, is just how well this thing is bound. And really you can see it on the first opening pages here when we get to some stitching. Now I want you to take a good long look at that stitching. I don't even need to zoom in on it. It is so pronounced. And it's like this throughout the book. Now, because of the stitching being as it is, it doesn't necessarily lay flat, but this thing, the old ritualists, they build things to last because they don't know when it's kind of in their blood. But so that being said, let's get this up on its edge for you so you can take a look at the binding, which the squirrel is not allowing, really. It's solid. It's not going anywhere, folks. So now it's not unlike the Horologion we know in the rest of the East. If you recall back to our review of the Old Rite Prayer Book, it's actually the smaller details where we see differences in practice rather than the actual prayers themselves. But there are a few minor differences. And so the first big difference you're going to notice here, and I'm sure you might have spied it when we were originally at the content page, there are 3 versions of Compline that you'll notice here that correlate to different levels of services, if it be a great feast, a Lenten service, or just your daily Compline. And the differences are, I don't want to say negligible, but let's take a look here. Let's skip past supper after Vespers. So this is Great Compline, which is a service that for the rest of the Orthodox Church is pretty well known. It's served in great feasts. And so you have the typical psalms, but you also have intermediate psalms that are dispersed depending on if it's a week during the Great Fast. What we have after those typical psalms is here we have, there we go, let's get it on camera. In this case, the song of Isaiah 8, one of the 12 canticles. And so aside from that, there are minor differences in the services, and each version of Compline is just slightly different and has variances. Now, if we skip ahead to page 93, not Matins, but 93, so we have the midnight service at Sunday. And as you may or may not know, the midnight service usually is just like any of the other services, the hours, but is comprised mostly of Psalm 118. And for those of us in the modern Eastern Orthodox tradition would notice that our morning prayers are usually derived from the midnight service. But here we have a canon to the Trinity in the midnight service for Sundays, which is honestly beautiful. It's one of the prayers in here that kind of jumps out at you and is like almost, that one alone is almost worth the cover price. The order for matins is actually pretty Spartan. Unlike some other Horologions that go into great detail, always in the red you have the variables for the service and explanations thereof, and not much else, which actually makes using the book very easy for home use and just the laity in general. Now, the hours is another area where it's not too dissimilar from the modern usage, with the exception of, and I kind of love this, you always have instructions for the Great Fast. And usually in modern usage, what we see in the hours during the Great Fast is just the addition of the prayer of St. Ephrem for the most part. But here we have several additions. We have responses, we have extra triparia, and in the case, we'll use the first hour for example because that's where we are. Another set of triparia and Cantacia. And let's go ahead and read this one out, just for example's sake. Carry the microphone over here. Quickly go before us, O Christ God, even before we are enslaved by enemies that blaspheme thee and hinder us. By thy cross destroy them that strive against us, that they may learn how potent is the faith of the Orthodox. Through the intercessions of the Mother of God, O thou, the only lover of mankind. So you can see that there's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not triumphalist, it's some other word. Uneducated folks. Anyway, just very, very powerful in wanting to show the strength of the Orthodox. And then, of course, you have the intermediate hours, which are only read during the Great Fast. So, skipping ahead to 156, and we will quickly go over this before letting you loose to go buy yourself a copy, because you know you want to. I got all these bookmarks, folks. All these bookmarks. Okay, so the Psalms of the Liturgy and the completion of the hours. Now, most people would call this the Typica, but this is just how they wrote it. Whatever. So anyway, and that's what it is. It's the Typica. And again, this book can be used to perform a liturgy, assuming a priest and choir knows what they're doing. But we do have the typical Psalms. And again, just minor notes here. So after the Beatitudes, if there is no liturgy, we read the Epistle and Gospel. Then we say, "Remember us, O Lord," etc., etc. You have the Confession of the Faith, the creeds, some prayers. Then you have the small section for the Great Fast, and then the completion with Psalm 33, and then you're off to the races with the service of the Pania, and then the rest of the book is just Triparia, Cantacia, canons, all the usual stuff. A small Manaean. Well, not so small. So really, the services comprise the first 167 pages, and the rest of them are supplemental material, which is kind of cool. It's a great all-in-one, and if you find yourself disposed to praying the hours at home, wanting to use an Horologion in a family environment, or just looking to up the ante of your daily prayers, if you're already praying the hours, this I would say is just a fantastic addition to your library. It's not terribly expensive as far as Horologions go, and as soon as the Church of the Nativity website is up and running again, you'll be able to go and get one. So with all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to Shaky Cam Theater. At any rate, if you're a fan of what we're doing here, if you'd like to help us along, links are below for Patreon and PayPal, and it is because of our Patreons and thanks to our patrons that we continue to do the work we're doing here at Orthodox Review. So that's out of the way. God bless you all so very much, and thank you all so very much for being a part of this amazing literary journey that we're on. And on behalf of Spooky Cat, her mom, and myself, please pray for me. I'm trying to pray for you. Don't forget to go to church, say your prayers, and remember God. God bless.